Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. Happy New Year. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Anna and I am a knitter and maker living in Seattle, Washington. And today I'm going to talk to you about everything that I worked on in the month of December. So now that we are in January, I'll talk to you about projects I was working on, projects I finished, and then some acquisitions, which are mostly gifts. I got some lovely, kind and thoughtful Christmas gifts that were yarny related. And there were also some of my finished objects that were gifts that have already been passed on. So I will put photos in here as I can so you can look at them and see what I got up to this month. So we will start with what is probably the most exciting finished object of the month. And that is my spot sweater by Ann Wenzel. This is a top-down raglan all over colorwork sweater, 2 colors. And I used a vintage blue Canadian wool. That was the fingering weight, and I held it double for the contrast. And then the main color is a 100% wool sport weight yarn from Nature Spun. And the fuzzy yarn, which you can kind of see in the light here, is a mohair and alpaca blend from Ice Yarns, which is a Turkish manufacturer. So this is my finished piece, and I will put a cutaway of me wearing it here so you can see what it looks like on my body. This was a real, very long process for me to make. I started this back in October and finished it halfway through December probably. And I'm really pleased with my efforts on this, I think. There are some fit things that I don't love about this, which I kind of was warned of ahead of time. But, you know, other people's advice rang true. So I really am pleased with the way that the fabric looks. I think my color work looks really nice. This fuzzy yarn that I used is very fuzzy, and it has a pretty serious halo, which is kind of fun. It's a little scratchy. My husband put it on and he was like, this is horrible, but I don't find it too terrible. And this is what my floats look like on the inside. They look quite nice. This is my first time doing an all over color work project in my size. I've done some color work yokes and things and some like smaller things, but I've never done like full color work, which is part of why it took so long. But so generally I'm happy. The problems are, as most people say, is that it's quite tight across the shoulders and the neck sits very high. So Ann Wenzel came out with some instructions on how to like pick up the neck lower down so that your neck isn't quite so high. And I did do that, and I still find that it's quite high. You can't see that I picked up because I sewed that kind of small flap of fabric into my neckband. But it is quite high on the neck, even with the short rows and everything. So that was one thing that I'm not in love with. You can kind of see here the way that I've blocked it. I hung it on a hanger, which I know is a no-no for knitting, but I did that on purpose because I wanted to stretch the shoulders out and just give it a better fit across the shoulders. It's not, this raglan that you do is quite steep and quite deep. So like that is well over 12 inch yoke. It's very deep, which I knew ahead of time. And I shortened it by like just a couple of rows, but it's still very deep. And so that causes some fit issues. When you raise your arms up, the whole thing lifts. And because this is all over color work, there's a lot of fabric here. And so it's just kind of stiff. So you have to readjust it quite often. So I don't love that about this. The other thing that I didn't love about the original pattern was the decrease rate on the sleeves. So I ended up changing that. The decrease rate on the sleeves in the original pattern is much steeper, which felt uncomfortable for me to have like a really big oversized yoke and then like really tiny skinny arms. That was just not a comfortable fit for me. So I had knit one of the entire sleeves. I ended up ripping the whole thing back and redoing that. And I mirrored the same on the other side. And then I knit the length as instructed in the pattern. I also did the twisted ribbing details, which you can see here. But I did this slightly longer than the pattern recommends, just by like a couple of rounds, and matched it to the collar ribbing length. So in the pattern, the collar ribbing is even longer, which is probably part of the reason that it sits up so high. So I did the collar ribbing. It's a folded over collar, but I did it quite a little bit shorter, and then matched the same length at the cuffs and the hems. So I'm really proud of the work that I put into this. I'm not sure if I'm gonna wear it a ton. It's extremely warm. And it is a little bit scratchy. I think it's a combination of the wool and then like a less high quality fuzzy yarn that can cause it to be a little bit scratchy, but overall, like, I'm very proud of this as a piece. And oh, the other thing that I changed before I forget is that the raglan in the original pattern is a purl stitch, and I just did it as a knit stitch because the tension on my pearls was a little wonky. So yeah, this is my spot sweater by Ann Venzel. It is pretty, and I'm proud of the work that I put into it, but I'm not sure that I'm 100% in love with it as a garment. I think it may just need me to wear it a little bit to kind of settle the fit in correctly, but like, you can see how deep that yoke is. It's like this, and this dress that I'm wearing does have quite a deep yoke, and the yoke on the spot sweater is like below my boobs, which is quite long. So be warned, if you're gonna make this, I think the best way to fix it, honestly, would be to kind of adjust the raglan so that it's coming out at a different angle. Or this, you do the raglan increases every other round on this sweater. It could be at a certain point you need to just start increasing every round. So I'm probably not gonna knit this again because it took me so long and it's quite a labor intensive process. But if you're interested in making this pattern, just know that the raglan is extremely deep, and I would say probably halfway through your raglan stitches to start increasing every round, because I could have split for sleeves comfortably, like all the way up here, and would have been happy. So just bear that in mind. There are ways to adjust this if you are more comfortable with knitting patterns and understand the fit and what works for you. But overall, I'm quite happy with it. I think it's beautiful. It's a really beautiful piece of knitwear as like a piece of art. So for that, I'm quite proud of this. But yeah, also before I forget what I'm wearing today, I'm just having a cozy day at home because it's a holiday. It's New Year's Day observed here in the US. So I'm wearing my cherry dress, which is a pattern from the Sendes Garn Mycket til Dame pattern booklet that I've talked about all year long on my channel. And I finished this up in August, and it's really cozy and great for lounging. So that's what I'm wearing today. So yes, finished object number 1 is my spot sweater. It was a long time coming, but it is done, and I'm excited to wear it. I have not worn it out of the house yet because I didn't take it with me on my Christmas vacation because I went to California. It was much warmer there, and it's a very warm sweater. So maybe I'll wear it for the next couple months here in Washington. I'm going on a little like snowshoeing weekend with some of my girlfriends in February, I think, and it would probably be a great time to wear that, like at a cabin, drinking hot cocoa. Sounds delightful. So that was finished object number 1. Finished object number 2, you also saw me talk about before. They look a little different than the last time you saw them. These are the socks that I made for my husband, and I do want to say thank you to everyone who left lovely advice on socks for men, because it was quite a challenge, and I'm still not sure that they're perfect, but they're done. So these are just some basic vanilla socks that I made for my husband James for Christmas / our anniversary. I used this main color as Svarte Faret socks, which is a Swedish yarn that I picked up in Malmo back in March. And I used a 50-gram ball for each sock. I knit the foot to the proper length, and then the leg I just knit until I ran out of yarn, and they're the same length. And I just did a short row heel. The contrast color yarn, I don't know the brand of, but it's a merino and acrylic blend. So that is that. I did end up ripping them back because I think the last time you saw them, they were ribbed. I ended up ripping them back and going up a needle size. I was previously knitting on 2.75 needles. I went up to a 3. I think I probably could have gone up to a 3.25 or even a 3.5, and they might have fit him a little bit better there. They fit him, but they are snug. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe they'll stretch over time, but we'll see. And then I just did a 1x1 rib at the top with a Judy's or super stretchy cast off, bind off, whatever. And yeah, they look really funny, but they are nice and blocked. And here, I'll show you them folded this way. This is what they look like. So they should be very cozy, and I hope he wears them, or else I will steal them and wear them myself. So yeah, these are the socks. I did do 48 stitches. If I was gonna knit another pair of socks for him on 3mm needles, I probably would go up to 54 stitches just to give him a little more space in the foot and the leg, but they turned out really cute. And the marl on the yarn is really pretty. It's like a dark blue, a light blue, and a white marl. So yeah, there's my socks for James. All done. They took forever. Probably because I had to nip them out and rip them out 3 times. The foot is much longer than I'm used to, so they took me a while, but they are done, and now I have to make sure he wears them. So that was finished object number 2. Finished object number 3, you have not seen before, and you will not see in real life in this video. I made myself a hat, but I left it at my mom's house. So my little sister is gonna bring it to me when she visits me in a couple weeks. But it is the Northern Torrids hat, which is a free pattern that's actually in a YouTube video that you can follow. And it has really cool, like pointy kind of decreases at the top, which is why I chose that pattern. I really liked the decreases. Just thought they were kind of interesting. I feel like when you knit hats, you have to choose something that's like a little different every time or else they get boring. So it's a 1x1 ribbed hat with the little points at the top. I knit mine in a mystery yarn that I got at the Hedesvåg mill. It's a navy blue. I'll put a picture of the hat here so you can see what I'm talking about. But it's a navy blue, and I think it's a lamb's wool. It could be a pelth wool, I'm not really sure. But it's very cute, it's very cozy. I modified the pattern a little bit and kind of wish I had just, the stitch count in the pattern a little bit, and I wish I had just gone down needle size because it kind of messed with the increases. So I would say if you start the hat and it's really loose on you, it's like 120 stitches, which is a lot for a hat in my opinion, a worsted weight hat. I think I end up going down to like 108. Probably could have gone down even a little bit more, but I think it calls for a 4mm needle, and I should have just gone down a needle size. I made the fabric more dense because it would have worked out better in the end. I had to do some creative math for the crown decreases, but in the end it worked out. I'm trying to decide if I want to make it a little longer or not. I have more of the yarn left over, so currently undecided what to do, and obviously I don't have it here so I can't show it to you or wear it, but it turned out nice and I enjoyed making it. So that was finished object number 3. And then finished objects number 4 and 5 I also don't have to show you because they were gifts. I knit 2 hot water bottle covers for my parents for Christmas, which I decided I was going to make for them like on December 22nd. Because I was having a hard time thinking of what to get them for Christmas, and I was very inspired by all of the hot water bottles that we've been seeing on knitting YouTube recently. Inga's knit one, Kat Weaver from Heather and Hops came out with her patterns, Laura from Penrose Knits was talking about it, like it's all, I think even Rebecca was talking about them, so like hot water bottles are in the sphere, and I just thought it would be really good gift for my parents because they keep their house really cold and they're always freezing. My dad like lays in bed with his puffer coat on. So I was like, I'll get you a hot water bottle and make a cover for it and you can stay a little bit warmer. So I used 2 different patterns and 2 different yarns to make them. The one I made for my mom, I made first. And it's a pattern just called Hot Water Bottle Cover from Emily Boldwan. And it's just a very standard stockinette hot water bottle cover. I used the Mountain Colors 4/8 wool in the color Elderberry, which I found at a thrift store. It's a really, really nice merino. I think it's merino. Super soft, super buttery, really pretty yarn. I really enjoyed working with it. I was really pressed. I liked the fabric that it made, and the speckles turned out really pretty. It made this like kind of nice striping effect. But this pattern, I don't know if my gauge was off because I didn't gauge swatch, but it was really loose on the hot water bottle. So I was kind of disappointed by that. I ended up having to send the hot water bottles directly to my parents' house. I got them on Amazon and like shipped them directly to their house, and then I was at my house like frantically knitting. So I couldn't try the cover on the bottle beforehand. So once I got to their house, I found out that it was a little bit loose. I was kind of disappointed. My mom obviously didn't care because she's lovely, but that was a little annoying. So for the second one, I finished my mom's in 2 days. So I think I finished hers on like the 23rd. Or the 22nd, and I started my dad's on the 23rd, and I was like, I really need to finish this. So I decided to do it in a little bit of a chunkier weight. I held 2 kind of like DK strands together of this mysterious green yarn that I've had in my stash for ages, and just it was like a blanket that I pulled apart from the thrift store and just never run out of this yarn. So I used that. It's like a wool blend, I believe, and I used the All You Need a Classic pattern, which is another hot water bottle pattern cover on Ravelry by London Leo. And I like this pattern a little bit more, I think, because it helps you, like, it kind of tells you to knit a gauge swatch. It helps you figure out what the stitch counts you should use for your water bottle, depending on what yarn and needle size you want to use. So I ended up knitting the kind of like I ended up doing it at a 16 stitch gauge, which 1, made it go faster, and 2, I could make it fit the bottle a little bit easier because at that point I knew the measurements of the water bottle. And so I was able to knit it up a lot faster and quicker. And for my dad's, because it was a solid yarn, I put a cable in the middle. So it was a super easy, just like 3/3 cable with 2 purl stitches on each side. And I was able to just kind of fit it to the water bottle. And his I finished like on Christmas morning. I was sewing the bind off before we opened presents, but it did get done and it looks really nice. It fits the bottle a little bit better than my mom's, but it's not as nice of yarn. So overall, they were happy with them. I hope it keeps them toasty warm. And yeah, that was my last, no, those were the 2 like super quick finished objects I did for my parents' Christmas. I have one more thing to show you, which I don't think I showed you in the last video, and I think the yarn came after I filmed, but I will show you this because it's all done. This is the Patissouflage from Penrose Knits. It's a darling little sweater for my niece Millie. I knit the 3 to 4 year size. Millie's 3, so hopefully she'll be able to grow into this really well. And I knit this in Drops Charisma in the color, I want to say it's like old pink, but I will put it in the description box so you know for sure. Millie chose this color for herself. This is not a color I probably would choose. It's kind of like a purpley, it's very much a color that I think a 3-year-old would like. So I got the color that she wanted and I knit this up pretty quickly. I knit the body, I don't know, I think I did the whole thing in 2 weeks, intermittent with the hot water bottle covers and the socks and like all sorts of other things. But I'm really pleased with how it came out. I think it's darling. The ruffle is so cute and super fun and very easy. This was my first time knitting one of Laura's patterns and I really enjoyed it. I knit it exactly to pattern as written, except for that I did the I-cord the other way around. So the way that Laura wrote the pattern, you would have this smaller section of the I-cord on the outside, and I wanted the kind of larger, puffier. So when you do an I-cord bind off, you get like a flatter side and then a rounder side. I wanted the rounder side on the outside. So I just cast off in the opposite direction. And I snicked this little button from my mom's button stash. It's kind of a purple pearlescent button that I think matches really nicely. The I-cord got a little wonky here on this keyhole, but I don't think that Millie will notice. And it turned out so cute. I love the little baby balloon sleeves. They're adorable. And I did like a very, very loose Italian bind off, and like I can fit my wrist through here. So I know it won't be too tight on her. I did the folded hem at the bottom with the nice little purl row to kind of make a picot. It turned out very cute and I'm really pleased with this. The one thing I will say is that the pattern called for like 700 meters of yarn for this size that I made, which seemed like a lot for me because I think I can knit a sweater for myself out of like 900 meters of yarn. So I was like, there's no way. And I was right. So I ordered 700 meters of yarn, but I ended up only using, I used less than 5 balls of the Drops Charisma for this. So that's less than 500 meters of yarn. So the yarn, I did not swatch, I will say, but even if I had, I wouldn't have used another 200 meters of yarn. So the yarn estimates in this pattern are quite generous. I may just send Laura a message to let her know, because I now have 2 full balls of yarn that I don't know what I'm going to do with, but like 100 grams of yarn, too much. So I may just message her and let her know. I don't know if that's helpful feedback or not. If any of you have designers, is it helpful to have people tell you that your yardage estimates are a little off? I know it's probably very difficult to estimate yardage, and this is not the yarn that's recommended in the pattern, but she does offer yardage estimates. So I think it would be helpful. In my opinion, I would like to have as accurate of a yardage estimate as possible when I'm buying a pattern, so I'm not buying too much yarn and then have over-consuming, blah, blah, blah. So there's always a fine balance of like people who buy too much and then people who buy too little, and I don't generally skew to the too little side, so I don't love having extra leftover balls. I'm sure I can find something to use it for. There are lots of lovely kiddos in my life that I can make a hat for or a scarf for, and I don't know, something, but I could have just saved some money and not bought the extra yarn. So keep that in mind if you're going to make this sweater, which I definitely think is lovely and it is so cute, and I can't wait to send it to my niece and see her wearing it. It's a great pattern. I'm really happy that I made it, but just keep that in mind if you are going to make it, that the yardage estimates might be a little generous. But yeah, overall, I'm very pleased with this. I just think it's so darling. Oh, it's so cute. And Laura makes really lovely patterns. So I'm glad I was able to knit one of hers and support her in that way. I bought this when she was running the pattern. I bought the pattern when she was running a little like snow day promotion, which I thought was really sweet. So yeah, it turned out great, and I'm gonna mail this off now that I've shown you. I'm gonna mail this off to little Millie. And she can be cozy for the next couple of months. She lives in Texas, so it might be a little warm, but you know, it gets cold there sometimes. And I made this in a superwash so that it should be super easy to clean for my sister. So yeah, that is that. All right, so I have a couple whips. My anemone sweater, which is the yellow and white floral sweater that I showed you last month, is still on hold. I have not touched it at all. I did not touch it in the month of December. I blocked it when I came home from Thanksgiving, and I have not put the needles back into it yet. So I haven't touched it. I was working on other things and haven't made any progress on that. And I just made a little bit of progress on my half and half wrap, which I'll show you here. I think I'm in the middle of a row. But I did knit on this a little bit. We traveled a lot in December, and so I find I do less traveling, less knitting when I'm traveling, but this is what I've got. I've probably got like 3 inches of the knitting, and this is gonna be impossible to show you because I am in the middle of a row. But yeah, this is how much I've done of the short row section. My needle's also kind of kinky, but I've done that much. So I'm less than halfway on this white color, but I think what I would like to do is to finish the white color. Oh, I don't know what the goal for this is gonna be. This is not like a high priority project. This is just a nice ongoing project to have that I'm keeping in my little dumpling bag from Pearl Soho. And maybe I would like to set myself the goal to have the white part finished by the end of February. I feel like that's realistic. That's 2 months away. And if I knit a little bit on this every day, I can maybe get there. So that's that. Not a whole lot of updates on that. And the only other work in progress I have right now is my Moonset pullover by Ozetta, which was actually my New Year's Eve cast on. I didn't do a Christmas Eve cast on, but I did a New Year's Eve cast on. So I will show you that in next month's video because mostly everything I've knit on it so far has been in January. So I'm making progress on that, and I am also filming a project vlog for that video. So I'm filming my progress as I go along, just kind of gauging how much time each section is taking, showing you the process. So stay tuned for that, but it is started, so it will be coming at some point. And that is all I have for projects. I do have a few acquisitions to show you. So I got some lovely gifts for Christmas that I was really excited about. Some of which I knew about, some of which I didn't. So I had told my mom that I wanted the Xiaogu mini circular needles. I was like, oh, she was trying to think what to buy for me. I told her I wanted these. And then I came out one day after work or something, and James had wrapped my Christmas present from him under the tree, and I could tell immediately by looking at it, but just like the size of the wrapped present, what it was, and it was this, and I knew it, and I felt so bad because he does not really enjoy giving gifts. He will do it because he knows that I enjoy it, but he was really excited to have thought of this. So I just said to him one day, like, hey, I think you should just text my mom and confer on what you got me for Christmas, because I told her to get me something, and I think it might be what you got me. And it was, and he was kind of annoyed, but I'm still really grateful because I really did want these, so I'm excited. So James ended up getting me these, which is the Xiaogu mini circular needles. This is the small size. And so this comes with 5 sets of the itty bitty tiniest little interchangeable needles that range from a 2mm to a 3.25mm. So you get here, I'll show you, they're so tiny. You get a 2-inch and a 3-inch tip for each needle size, which is just like, they're so itty bitty tiny. Like, they're thinner than my wedding ring or my band. They're so tiny. But these are perfect for knitting socks and knitting sleeves, which is what I wanted them for. So James got me the mini set, which is perfect because I would like to knit more socks this year, and these are great for that. And they have all the sizes. So they have a 2, 2.5, 2, 2.25, 2.5, 2.75, 3, and 3.25. I was especially excited to have the 3s because in my Addy interchangeables, I don't have a 3mm needle, so I have a couple sizes of fixed 3mm needles, but I'm going to be knitting the Sunday sweater by Petite Knit this the Sunday Tee by Petite Knit this year. And it does have a good amount of sleeve and a 3mm. So I was excited to have these, especially the 3mm size. And they come with a couple of different cables and all the little tools you need in this cute little pouch. So I was really excited to get these. And then when my mom found out that James had gotten them for me, I was like, oh, well, you could get me. She's like, do you want me to get you the blue set, which is there are 2 sets of the minis. This one goes from a 2 to a 3.25, and then the next size up goes from a 3.5 to a 5. So you get a 3.5, 3.75, 4, 4.5, and 5mm needle. And I was like, I don't know that I want the full set because I never use a 3.75mm needle. I don't really need a 5. And so that was 2 needles out of that set that I didn't think I was going to use. So instead she just got me the individual sizes of these that you needed. And these are about $20 each, and it was $100 for the 5 set. So it didn't cost really, like it would have been the same to buy 5 of these individuals as it would have been to buy the set. So it felt like it wasn't like a bad deal or anything. So she ended up getting me the 3.5, 4, and 4.5 mini circulars, which I can use now for sleeves because sometimes when you get like, for a good chunk of a sleeve, I can use a 16-inch needle and be fine. And I have 16-inch fixed circulars in most sizes. But like once you get to kind of like this part on a sleeve, it gets even a little bit too small for a 16-inch circular, and then the ribbing. And I don't like doing magic loop, and I don't really like using DPNs. I'm a small circular girl. So I wanted the small circulars so that I could do sleeves a little bit more comfortably. And these needles are great because because they have 2 different tip lengths, you can do, and a couple different cord lengths, you can make anything from like a 9-inch circular to like a 14-inch circular with just 1 set of needles, which is really cool. So they're very versatile, and I'm really excited to have these. And I used the 3mm ones to finish up these socks. I didn't finish these in time for Christmas, but they're done. So I used the 3mm to do the second sock of these, and then I used the 4mm ones to do the sleeves on Millie's sweater, and they went super fast. And there's no laddering like you would get if you were doing magic loop, and they're wonderful. So I'm really excited about all of these needles, and this was my first time using ChiaoGoo needles, and I actually do really like these. I get why people like them. I think I still like my Addies like just a bit more for general overall use because I don't like the screwing thing, and like your screw can come loose unless you use the thing to like fully tighten it. If you have a pair of these needles, you might know. Or the Knit Pros where you like have to screw them in, you have to use the little pin to make sure they're super tight. Whereas the Addie clicks, you can just click on and off, which I find very convenient. But I do like that these are like a solid needle because my Addie needles are hollow, and so sometimes they bend, whereas these are like a solid stainless steel, so they're not going to bend. So pros and cons. I totally understand why people love ChiaoGoo so much, but I'm still very happy to have my full set of Addie interchangeables, and I'm going to keep using those for the main purpose, and I'm going to be happy to supplement with the ChiaoGoos. They also have a great point on them. So that's my review on those. Very pleased about those. And then my mom got me a couple other yarny related things. She got me 6 skeins of this gorgeous Jamieson and Smith yarn. There's a really cool little yarn consignment shop in the city that my mom lives in, and I think this is where she picked this up. So this is Jamieson and Smith. It's this gorgeous, you can see it in the sunlight, heathered red. Like far away it reads as like a burnt orangey red, but it has yellow and red and purple. And this is the color SHFC38, and it's really, really pretty. This is I've never tried this yarn before, so I'm excited to have it. And she gave me 6 skeins of it in this perfectly sized box. So yeah, I'm gonna probably use that for some color work. If you've been following me for a while, you know I really wanna make like a Fair Isle style all over colorwork sweater, and I started to work on one. I bought some yarn for one when I was in Scandinavia, and I started working on it, and I've been having some trouble with like the yarn collars and the pattern I'm not in love with, so I'm still on the hunt for the perfect all over colorwork sweater. But I think this yarn would maybe work a little bit better with some of the colors I bought in Norway. I have like a really nice rich warm brown that I think would work really nicely with this. And if I don't end up using this in color work, 150 grams is like plenty for a hat or some mittens or something like that. So very excited to have that. It's lovely. My mom is also so sweet, and she bought me these little tags for my knitting from this brand called Cut Pie or Cute Pie. I think she probably found them on Etsy, and they're these little faux leather tags that say, I don't know if you're gonna be able to read it in the sunlight, but they say apt.atelier, which is my Instagram handle, and it's my initials and then the French word for workshop, which French is my second language. I speak it fluently and have for much of my life. So I thought it was very thoughtful of her to get these for me. And these are perfect for hats because you can fold them in half. I'm not sure how well you're gonna be able to see because of the sunlight. Maybe you can. Okay, so they're these little like faux leather grained tags, and then you can fold them in half and put them on a brim of a hat. And they come with these little bronze, these little rivets. So you put the rivet through and then you hold them on there. So do I have this is not what I would put it on, but you can put them like this on the brim of a hat. I mean, you could put them on mittens and then tag them on there. So I think that is really cute, and I'm gonna put that on some of my favorite hats. So that was another very kind and thoughtful gift from my mother. And then the last kind and thoughtful knitting related gift from my mother was just this really sweet book that she found me. It's a children's book, but she got it for me anyway, and I think it's darling. It's called Extra Yarn, and it's about this little girl who finds a mystery box of yarn, and she just keeps knitting and knitting and has extra yarn, and so she just keeps knitting and knitting, and it's very relatable because there's always extra yarn. But the illustrations are gorgeous, and there's just always extra yarn, isn't there? So I thought that was really sweet and very thoughtful of her. So yeah, that's my book called Extra Yarn. So lots of fun yarny gifts. One more thing to show you, which I'm very excited about. So as I mentioned, there is a craft consignment store in my mom's little town, and where she got me this yarn, the Jamesons & Smith. So when she had to go to work one day, my sister and I walked to this store, and they had so much beautiful yarn in there. But I saw this up on a shelf, and it just called to me. So this is a giant cone of this gorgeous, it's like a grayish lavender that looks very different in all sorts of light. It looks more purple in person in the sunlight than I think it's showing up on camera, but it's a very cool yarn. And this is a wool and Angora blend yarn. So it's super, super soft and fluffy. I would say this is probably a DK weight, DK light worsted, and there are 1,800 yards on this cone. So this is more than enough for a sweater for me, and it was $30. So I bought the whole thing. I'm very excited about it. It's so soft and lovely. I've knit with some Angora blend yarn earlier this year. My sweater number 11 has Angora in it, and it's so nice. And just like the color just changes depending on the light, and it's so pretty, so soft. Oh, it's so soft. And so I bought this, and I have a couple patterns in mind for it. I think I either want to do the Smilla sweater by Ann Wenzel, which my sister-in-law actually bought me the pattern of that for Christmas. She bought me a couple knitting and sewing patterns, which was very nice of her. So I have a pattern for that. Or the Mia sweater by, oh gosh, what's her name? The Mia sweater by Cheryl Mokhtari. It's this really pretty, it's kind of a simple stockinette body, and then it's a raglan that has this, it's like a 3x1 rib, but in the purl, it's a broken rib. So I'll put a picture of it here so you can see what I'm talking about. And this color is kind of similar to the sample color, so that's probably why I think it would work really well, but I think that would be gorgeous. So yeah, that's my thoughts on this yarn, but I just think it's so gorgeous, and there's so much of it, and it was a really good price. So that is it. So yes, that is it for this month, I think. I thought this was going to be a quick video, but I think we are probably about 45 minutes, maybe closer to an hour. So thank you all for watching. I hope you had a lovely New Year's, and I hope you are looking forward to 2023. I hope you've made some fun goals. My next video, which you can look forward to, is going to be my 2022 knitting wrapped. So everything that I knit in 2022 that I still have and can show you, I'm gonna walk you through. I'll talk you through the patterns and the yarns that I used and how it wore and what I think of everything. So that is coming soon. And then I may also do a bonus episode this month about my 2022 sewing wrapped, because I have talked a little bit about my sewing, but I did do quite a lot more sewing in 2022 and made some pieces that I'm really, really happy with and really proud of. So I will probably talk to you about that in a little bonus video if you're interested. So yeah, and then also another thing I was thinking about, but I don't know if I can put out this many videos in the next couple of months. So if you're willing to wait until February for like a 2023 plans or like a make 9 kind of a thing, if that's something you'd be interested in seeing, let me know. I'd be happy to talk about it because I have lots and lots of plans, things I want to make. So yeah, that is what you can expect from me. Thank you all so much for watching, for your lovely, kind comments and messages on Instagram, and just watching my videos and supporting me. It's great to have you around. I love talking about knitting, and I love being able to chat with you all and have a little knitting family over here. It's very fun. So thank you all again for watching, and I wish you a very happy new year, happy January, and I will talk to you again very, very soon.